As a barber, how do you know when it's time to raise your prices?
That's a great question, bro. I would say, so I know what you guys are thinking. Doctor, what the fuck have you got on your neck? I can't lie, bro. It's a POV neck mount camera. Because me and my business partner here, Yupinder, are going to be doing a Q&A for you guys. Okay. So we're going to be cutting this guy's hair and answering some frequently asked questions about how to raise your prices as a barber. Because that's exactly what we teach within the Barber Lab. For those that don't know, Yupinder is actually the head of enrollment at the Barber Lab, and he is also in charge of student success. So he is. Tell them what that's about, G.
So like success for the students, that's how it me.
As you can see, this is why I fucking made my hair.
Nah, I just run the back end stuff, bro. Dude behind the computer, all the setup and shit. But yeah, today.
He's just glorified tech support, if that makes sense. You want to trim this?
Yeah, probably not.
Trim the top? Okay, Musu.
But let's get started.
Yo. Do you want to trim the front? So obviously, like, I've cut Yupinder's hair many times before. So for me to, like, run through a full consultation that I would usually run with, like, a brand new client makes no sense. As you can see, we've got, like, a little bit of balding there.
Oh, fuck off, man. That's just the crown, bro.
Yo. Heavy as the head that wears the crown. Eh?
Yo, straight up.
All
right,
right, balding. Yo.
So, as a barber, how do you know when it's time to raise your prices?
That's a great question, bro. I would say, from my own experience, the best time to raise your prices is when the supply of haircuts, or however many haircuts that you can do in a day, is almost maxed out for like weeks or months in advance because of the demand that you're getting for your service, right? The amount of haircuts or the amount of hours that you can work in a day can't be increased anymore. Then it's time to raise your price. But there are signs that we teach our students in the Barber Lab that help them figure out when it's time to raise their price as well. And one of those signs is when you've got a higher number of new booked clients every single month. So say, for example, this month I've got 10 new booked clients, right? Like clients I've never met before. If next month I've got 15 and then the month after I've got 20, sounds like it's about time to raise some prices, bro. But I would wait until you're at least 80% booked out before you actually raise the price.
In terms of raising your prices, what do you think is like the biggest mistake barbers make when raising prices?
To be honest, bro, and I've made this mistake like quite a bit, you're too scared to raise your price too much, right? Like my first ever price raise, I went from like $30 to $50. I was scared as fuck, bro. It's $20 extra. But at that point in time, like $50 wasn't the minimum standard for like barbers around New Zealand. So I was like shit scared, bro. Raised it anyway, and guess what? I was still busy, still booked out. So if you remove your emotions from that whole situation, you know, and you look at it from a macro level.
Just like based on data, right?
Yeah. You know, you look at the numbers. You don't look at like how you feel towards it or what people are telling you, because at the end of the day, if they're going to book in, they're going to book in, bro. Plus, it's actually harder for a client. If you look at it, it's harder for a client to find a new good barber than it is to pay $20 extra. You know what I mean? So for all the barbers that are out there and they're scared to raise their prices, or they don't want to like, you know, overstep on their clients' like toes, whatever the fuck they want to call it, just raise the price, bro. Raise the price. $10, $20, no one's going to leave. You know what I mean?
I also feel like when you raise your prices, a big mistake that barbers make is just instead of raising the prices, they also don't raise the perception of the service.
Yes,
right?
bro.
It's like if you're just raising it like $20, like what's the difference in the $20?
Yeah, 100%.
You know, maybe a towel service, maybe you get like, I don't know, like eyebrows or some shit included in it. Perception of that extra value should be given, right?
Yeah, fact. I feel like when you raise your price, you can't drop any standard of quality or service. You know what I mean? Like, for you to actually be able to raise your price, you need to be giving a service that is worth more money than what you're charging. And how you do that is by upskilling, by value stacking your services, and by actually just like being good to your customers, bro. You know, before I even raised my price to $50, when I was at $30, a lot of my clients were saying like, yo, you're like, I can't believe this is only $30. You need to be charging more for this. And, you know, it was kind of hard at the time when I was like 20, 21 to listen to them and think, yeah, you're right. But looking back, I should have raised it sooner, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I would have made more money in the same amount of time and whatever else. But yeah, I think like when it comes to raising your prices, make sure that what you're giving is actually worth the money. Like, look at it from a customer's perspective and think, okay, $100. Why the fuck would I pay $100? Oh, but this is included, this, and this is included. Oh, okay. That actually kind of makes sense. And he's a good guy and he's good to yarn with, you know?
The trust is already built.
Yeah, exactly. You know, for all of the people in our, in the Barber Lab, in our mentorship, right? We actually tell them or teach them. We actually teach them how to market their service so that their clients can see the value before they even sit in the chair, right? Because that's so important, especially when you're like trying to get new clients. They have to be able to see the value in what you're charging for. If it's just a haircut, they can go get just a haircut down the road. They can go to any barbershop on the corner and get just a haircut there. What makes your service different to everyone else's is what you got to ask yourself.
We were talking about this in the class the other day, where we have two different types when you're buying, right?
Yeah.
You got the logistical side of the brain.
Sorry.
You got the logistical side of the brain, which takes a look at prices, how long it's going to take, where it is and stuff. And then you got the emotional side. And people base their purchases on feelings, right?
Yeah, people buy with emotion and they justify their purchase with logic. So what that means for us as barbers and, you know, barbers that are trying to build social media personal brand or build a consistent client acquisition system through social media, what that means for us is we have to market to the emotional side of most people's brains, right? Because they will book in based off of the emotion that they are perceiving from your videos. Broken down in like proper, like simple English, make them feel something and they'll probably book in. Which, you know, we could go on a whole different tangent about like making people feel something, talking about finding your ideal customer, and what they look like and what their pain points look like. But I think at the end of the day, when it comes to raising your prices, to build up that demand, you need to know your customer, you need to know what you're selling, you need to know who you're selling it to. That's going to allow for that demand to flow through your business, right?
What should people do if like people or like their clients complain about the price or push back about the price?
What should they do?
Well, like what should you say as a barber if your clients are pushing back or complaining about the new price raise?
Me personally, what I do and what I teach our students inside the Barber Lab is to, like, first of all, like, if they are clients that you've been seeing for a very long time and they can no longer come to you because of the price raise, you probably, like, I mean, at the end of the day, the way I think about it is you don't owe anyone an explanation. My thing is I'm not going to waste my breath explaining to someone that just doesn't get it. But what I'm going to do and what I teach our students to do is to justify it in a calm, confident way. Obviously, our students invest in themselves, in their education with us, and they invest in external education for their skills. And so, like, one of the things that I tell them to say, or when they have these conversations like this, is to say, you know, I've been so blessed that the demand for my services has, you know, shot through the roof, skyrocketed, that it's become too much for me to handle. Hence, I'm raising my prices so that I can keep up with the demand. In this time, I have been, growing. I've been upskilling. I've been learning new skills that will improve and add to the services that I provide for my clients, which is another reason as to why I've raised my prices. But I think like I said before, you don't know anyone an explanation. What I will say though is, instead of an explanation, why don't you just show them why it's worth the new price? Show them the demand that hasn't slowed down, or show them that the client reactions that they're getting from their clients as to how good the service was. Show them the 5-star reviews. Show them everything that you can to justify your price from a actual buying standpoint, because you can say anything all you want, right? But actions speak louder than words. So if you're showing what other people are doing with their actions, with their money, and with their time, that will speak so strongly to the people that used to come to you but can no longer come to you because of the price raise. You got anything to say with that?
No, yes. So how do you justify these prices if you cut from home at a home studio and not in a professional barbershop and stuff? How can you charge 70 to 100 a cut?
Right. So this is a great question. And I think, personally, obviously I've been there. Right now, this is my studio, right? This is where I cut out of. This is my home here, bro. This is my garage, right? This is my shed. I built this studio in the shed and made it look all nice so that it's a premium experience for my clients. The main thing I'd say with this question is that that's a mindset block, bro, right? Obviously, you justify your prices for your services through the actual service and client experience, right? That's the main thing that you need to leverage when you are justifying your prices, right? I would say it definitely goes deeper than just your actual service and client experience, but your ability to create results for people is what they care about, and not where your setup is, because that in all honesty, it's a huge mindset block. If you keep thinking that way, you'll never be able to charge higher prices. You always have to operate from an abundance mindset rather than a scarcity mindset. So the best things that you can do if you're cutting out of your garage, or you can't afford to build a studio, or you don't have a private space that you're renting, if you're cutting from your garage, you better make sure it's clean. You better make sure it's tidy. You better make sure it smells nice. You better make sure it's lit up well. You better make sure it's easy to get to for your clients. You better make sure it's relaxing and the climate's controlled if you can, obviously. I don't know if you guys can see, that's an aircon up there. I got that installed 1 month into me owning the studio. And I'll be honest, bro, I started my studio at the start of December in 2022. And in New Zealand, that's summertime, bro. And I had no aircon in here. And this is a insulated room in a metal box. So it's an absolute heater in here when it comes to summertime, because everything's cooking and insulated, you know what I mean? So I went 1 whole month without the aircon up there, but the best part about it was my clients were loyal already to me, and I only just raised my prices $10 or $20. And so they understood, and they appreciated the grind. This was before all the social media stuff. But yeah, that I would say client comfort, client experience, and client results are the most important thing. It's not your setup. It's not your tools, even though those help to, create and position you as a premium VIP barber. They are not necessary, There's people that charge $100, $150 that cut out of their garage right now. And bro, we're talking US dollars as well. People that charge US 100, US 150, they cut out of their garage. And it's because they can create results for their clients, not because of their setup.
So let's say I was a barber, right? And I feel like I've got that demand and I'm ready to raise my prices, but I feel stuck. What should I do?
So you feel stuck
Yeah.
and don't feel like you can raise your prices.
Yeah.
Honestly, bro, I felt exactly like that once upon a time, and I know a lot of our students feel exactly like that right now. You know, some of them charging $30, some of them charging 40. But their services, you know, alone, by the result that they create for their client, are worth like $60, $70, $80 already. You know what I mean? Let alone the experience of the client. So what I would say, so first of all, I would say get out of your head when it comes to, you know, raising the prices. Like I said before, you need to operate from an abundance mindset. And that isn't to say that you're delusional and you're operating from an abundance mindset and your content or your services don't show the value that they're actually worth, right? You need to be communicating the value of your services, the value of your customer experience, both online and offline. You need to be showing like your customers the best service possible, the best experience possible, and be giving them the result that they want, right? So how do you start by actually doing that? You start doing that by actually showing up for your clients, bro. You know, you do it by, you know, going that extra mile for your clients. If they want to come in late, like, obviously you got to respect your boundaries as a business owner. But if, like, for example, they're running like 10, 20 minutes late, it's about understanding that they're going to be late. They're going to appreciate it, that, you know, you're staying open later. Client communication is a big thing, you know, getting it across to your clients that there is value in whatever I'm doing for them so that they understand the value associated with your service. I would say another big thing to do with that, let me just turn on this aircon.
Metal box.
Yo, one of the best investments I've ever made in this studio. Another thing to go along with that is by actually marketing your services the right way instead of trying to market them by just posting a video of the haircuts or the results that you create. You need to be marketing the entire service from start to finish. Goddamn. You need to be marketing the entire service from start to finish. And what I mean by that is how you greet the client, you know, how you speak to the client, how you understand the client, how well you guys gel together, whether you guys have like, you know, whether you guys click straight away and the vibes are on straight away. You need to be showing these things. And the reason why you need to be showing these things is because when you post a video that's got all of these things associated with it, right? Whether it be super obvious or subconscious thought to whoever's watching, the reason you need to be posting this is because that is what's going to get the value across to whoever's watching your video, right? So communicating that it's worth like more money, that it's worth the price, is how you break past the feeling of being stuck when it comes to raising your price.
What would you want to say to a barber who feels guilty charging more because their clients are like family?
I can't lie, bro. A lot of people, a lot of barbers feel exactly that way, you know, like if your clients are the people that you spend the most time with, because like obviously they're coming in so often, like a lot of my friends I've actually met through cutting hair, and every single price raise, it shows me who my real friends are. You know, it's not because, you know, these people can afford to come back or whatever. I have like a lot of my friends, they don't make a lot of money, bro, you know, which is fine, and I don't care. But like a lot of my day one clients stay with me throughout every price raise. Yeah. And the reason why is because they understand that I'm trying to honor my own growth, honor my own service that I'm providing. They realize that my time is becoming more and more valuable to me, and any real friend or family will respect that and honor that for you, right? Especially because I'm teaching them by raising my prices and holding firm on, not giving discounts to people. I'm honoring my own time, my own service, and my craft as a whole by not giving discounts to people, right? Now, obviously, I think there's, a case where giving discounts or, sussing some sort of deal for someone that's like actually family to you or close to you is viable, and I tell anyone that actually wants to do that for their family or friends, you can do that. But I think at the end of the day, like, you are giving back more by keeping your prices firm instead of discounting for specific people. Because at the end of the day, I think that actually will build resentment within who you're giving the service to, and you end up giving less back to them instead of giving them more. Because, the resentment builds up, the patience for them goes down, and then at the end of the day, they're just like not even coming in at all because you don't want to squeeze them into a spot that somebody could book for the full price, I know for myself, when I have to fit in my family for cuts, it's got to be on my own time and not during work time. And the reason why is because work time is where I get paid, right? So I want to keep that time for getting paid. My family get haircuts for free. Why would I give up an hour of my time where I could get paid to my family if they're not going to be paying for it, So I think that's another strategy that you could implement, and that I've been telling some of our students to implement as well, is if you're going to be doing stuff like that, giving free haircuts for content or giving haircuts to your family or friends for free or at a discounted rate, get them to come in during your own time, bro. Not during work time. Work time is when you actually make the money, yeah? Do it in your off time where you don't have to work, so whatever discounted rate they're coming in at is worth your time, It's we're at 30 minutes. I reckon we could So I just noticed we're at about 12:25 p.m, which means I've got to get this guy in and out of here ASAP. So what I'm gonna say, just to end off this video, it's been about 30 minutes of filming, so we've got to cut bits out and stuff, but we're gonna keep it as raw and authentic as possible. But what I will say is the truth behind raising your prices isn't about changing the number or making more money. It's about changing how people see you and changing how you see yourself and the perceived value of what you're giving and how your clients see that exact same change too, right? A lot of people tried to do that on their own, and that's where you get stuck. Like myself back in the day. When I was raising my prices, I was, overthinking, I was stressed out, I was wondering, bro, are people gonna still book in and stuff? And, I had to combat that. Yeah, and I had to go at it by myself. And truth is, a lot of barbers, they'll hesitate, they'll feel stuck, and they'll stay stuck because they're not making the moves that they actually need to make, right? They're not doing the things that are ballsy or backed by numbers, They don't have a system behind why they're actually raising their prices. They just think, oh, the demand is high now, I've got to raise my price. When really there's a whole system and formula behind it, right? And when you can back things up by numbers and systems, every decision becomes less emotional and more logical, meaning it's a bit easier to make because it all makes sense, right? That's exactly why we built the Barber Lab as well. We're here to help the people that actually want to upskill and show that their skills have grown to their clients, to themselves, to their family, and to their friends, right? to honor their business for what it is. So if that sounds like you, and you want to be a part of the Barber Lab, we actually have an intake open right now for next month. If you want that extra help and that one-on-one coaching from myself, and you get to deal with me and our head of enrollment and success manager, Yupinder, then tap the link below in the description. Watch the training, the free training that we have given you, and apply if that resonates with you. If not, that's all good too. We're going to be posting free videos here for you guys to learn anyway. So, yeah, that's all I've got. Kaz, you got anything?
No, I'm just looking good, eh?
Yo, join the lab.
Yo,
Is this service worth $100?
I'd pay 1,000, mate.
Oh, there you go, mate. Righto. Anyway, boys, we're gonna head off now. So we'll speak to you real soon, mate.